here and welcome to another episode of FooBar. Today we are starting another series on location service. I made 3 videos some time ago about location service. You really like them. So now I want to refresh that because the service now is generally available and it has changed quite much. So this will be a series of 3 videos and we are going to create a full application. It will be an application where we will be able to see a map, we will be able to play with the map with different layers and actions that we can do from the UI. We will be able to see how to find directions, like to route, that's something new from location services. We will be able to do all kind of interesting things. So this will be 3 videos. The first one on setting up and getting the map drawn and combining it with GraphQL. The second one about routing and the third one about tracking. So let's get started. So if you don't know what is location services, Amazon Location Service is a new service that was announced in the beginning of June that allows you as a developer to add location-based functionality to your applications. It can be web applications, it can be mobile applications. It integrates with Amplify and the AWS SDK, so you can use it very easily from your website, in this case, what we are going to do. Location services provide some features, like you can get maps from different map providers. In this case, we have S3 and we have here. You can do search in those maps. You can, based on an address or coordinates, you can get the address. So either search or reverse search, what is called. You can do routing that we are going to do in this series. Find the how to find your way from point A to point B, either by walking, by car, by truck, other features. You can do Geo Fencing, and Geo Fencing allows you to send notifications when somebody crossed that geofence, either enter it and exit, and we are going to do that in the last episode, but I already have shown you how to use the geofence more or less in a video about tracking as well. Links are in the description box. So in today's video, we are going to set up our web application. We are going to draw a map. We are going to load some information, some location-based information into Dynamo, and then we are going to display that information in the map. This is quite a normal use case. Imagine you're a store and you have your stores saved in a Dynamo table, or you are a delivery company and you have your branches saved somewhere. And in this way, then you can basically show them in the website. So let's go to the code. Before jumping into the code, for doing this demo, there are a couple of prerequisites. You need to have an AWS account. You have to have Amplify configured in your computer, and you have to know some web development. But more or less all these translate to other frameworks like iOS, Android, and Vue, Angular, or whatever Amplify supports. So you can go to the Amplify documentation and find ways to do it around, and also to the AWS SDKs for each of the frameworks that you're using. But I will be using React, so that's what we are going to do. So now let's go to the code. So I will start basically by creating a new React application, as always. And we are going there to just do npm create a React app, and I'm giving it a name. Basically now the whole internet will download in my computer, and I will just fast forward until this is done. When it's ready, let's open it in Visual Studio Code and run Amplify in it. If you don't have a clue what Amplify is, watch the video in the description box that will guide you on what Amplify is. I don't want to repeat myself. So basically, I'm just picking a profile, initializing Amplify, and we can get this started. I will fast forward until Amplify finish initialization. So now when we have initialized Amplify, we can start installing 2 million dependencies. You can find all this information, exactly what I'm installing, what I'm doing, and the whole tutorial in the GitHub repo. Everything is described there and all the code is available. So go and check that GitHub repo that is in the description box. We are going to install Bootstrap. We are going to install the components from Amplify for React because we are going to use them. We are going to use Krakow for kind of adding some configurations to our maps. we are going to use a library called Amazon Location Helpers that has been created by the location service team to help you to make the maps and use the maps easier. And finally, we are going to install the React mapgl library and the maplibre library. These are the libraries that will basically draw the maps in the screen. In the first video I did from location services, I was using mapgl, and I have to install this older version of mapgl, but now this is all by using maplibre. So if you use maplibre, you don't need to use any out-of-date libraries. You can just use this implementation of the tool and you're fine. And for doing that, we will need to configure Krakow to basically change the parameters of React mapgl on initialization. So basically, that's what we are going to do now. For using Krakow, Krakow is a library that will help you to do that. We just create a Krakow config in the root of our application that is changing the mapgl alias to the maplibre.gl, and this will update basically the use of this library in the React mapgl. And then for this to start and to kind of update, then you will need to update your package.json. So Krakow is a helper for this create React app that basically you can just put that and you don't need to touch anything. So I really like it. So then just do Krakow start, Krakow build, Krakow test, and you know, the flow. So now we have our base ready and we can add some authentication, because a lot of the things that we are going to do in this app needs to be done with an authenticated user, because Cognito will not allow us to do it in an unauthenticated user. Amplify, add auth, and we go by all the settings and then we push this to production. If you want to know how to do this, link in the description to find the exact video on what is going on here. So I fast forward until this is deployed in the cloud and we have the authentication. While this pushed to production, now the interesting part comes. So like this video before while you wait for this to deploy. Now that this is deployed to the cloud, we can modify our app.js and get the code ready. Basically, this code is just showing a header and then a login and logout button. Nothing very specific. I'm going to separate the whole app in components, so the whole app.js is not huge. So I'm going to create a folder called components where I'm going to now put the header, but later on I will put other components there. So everything is a little bit more separated and we don't have a 1,000-line app.js. You can find all the code in the GitHub repo. Everything is in the base folder and you can just basically copy it from there. So we add the sign out in the header, we add the authentication in the app.js. So now we can start this, do npm start, and this will initialize our app. So I will go and see what happens when this initializes. So if we go to localhost, in my case 3000, we can create a new account. We have seen this many times on how to create an Amplify account. I just create one with the username Marcia, my email, and this will can put any phone number. And then when this happens, a message will come to my phone and I can validate my account. And again, this happens all automatic by Amplify. So if you have never seen this, go and watch that authentication video. So when we have the account, this will automatically log us in, and you can see there that there is a huge sign out button. That's another React component. So now we are ready to start creating the location services components. So the first thing we want to do is to show a map. So for that, we need to go to the location service and then create a map. So you can search for it and you can find the Amazon location service. And there you can see the 5 things I told you that location service provides: maps, place index that are the search, route calculators that we are going to use later, geo fencing, and tracking. So that's all that location service provides. So let's go to maps and create a new map. The name is important. You will need that name in multiple places so you can remember it or keep it in a notepad or somewhere. I will put my store app map or something like that. So I will use capital letters so it's a little bit nicer. And then you can select one of the maps visualizations that are there. It comes from these two providers, S3 and here, and they are all the different maps that they provide. So there is the new one, S3 imagery, that is the satellite imagery from S3. I will pick, I don't know, it's always so hard. I will think the S3 in navigation. That looks quite bright, so that's the one I want. And then just put yes to that question, so you go with the basic pricing plan. But if you're going to use this in production, I recommend you to read more about the pricing plans so you understand how you're going to get billed. So now we have our map, and the next thing we need to do is to give permissions to our Cognito role so our application can access that map. So in order to find the Cognito authenticated role, we will do amplify console auth and go to the identity pool. And there in the edit identity pool, you will be able to navigate to the authenticated role. The authenticated role, we can search it in IAM, the identity service. And there you will go to roles, and there you will find a search bar where you can start typing the name of the role, amplify, my store web app, blah, 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 and there you find it. It takes a while. Don't close this if you're going to do the free video tutorial, because you will need this a lot. So in the role, we need to add an inline policy, and there are a couple of ways to do that. We can use the visual editor that will ask us some questions, or then, because I'm providing you the inline policies in the GitHub repo, you can basically go to JSON and just paste it. So you can paste it there, and one thing to have in mind is that that JSON comes without a region, an account number, and the name of your map, so remember to populate them with the right values according to your account. So we review the policy, we put any name, it really doesn't matter what name you're giving, and then we continue. So now we go back to the code and we go to the app.js, and I will just paste a new application here, and we can go step by step to see what is going on there. Again, the code is available for you as well. So the most important part of this code is the React mapgl usage, and these components will draw the map in the screen. And you will see that there is some attributes we need to pass, some parameters we need to pass, like the transform request, the map style, that's the name of the map, and things like that. The transform request in the past, if you watched that previous video, it was a huge thing that I told you to copy paste. Luckily now with Amazon Location Helper, you don't need to worry about it. It's a method inside that helper, so you can basically call it, and then you can pass it to your map. So you need to pass the credentials that Amplify give you and the region where you're running this that you can get from your configuration. So that's all you need. Then the next thing we are going to do is to get the credentials from the auth, basically when the page load, and then we are going to set a main initial viewport. In this case, it's the city of Montevideo, because all the information I'm giving you is from Montevideo. So besides learning location service, you are learning a new city today. Here is the latitude and latitude from Montevideo, and I'm passing that as the main viewport for now, so when the app loads, it's kind of loaded there. And don't forget to put the map name in that constant to use the map that you just created. If you have not changed it, then you're good. Now you can refresh your page and you will see the map of Montevideo. It's a beautiful city in the shores of the Atlantic Ocean, and we will go into add more things in there. So the next thing we want to do is to add an API. We want to add a GraphQL API, and in that GraphQL we want to store our stores. And I'm using a GraphQL API. I could use just a database with a REST endpoint, but I want to integrate this into the picture, and later on we might do more things with this GraphQL. So that's why I decided to go with a GraphQL, and I'm just going with all the defaults and basically Cognito, user pool security, and we just say no. We basically will need to go and edit the schema. So to find the schema, you can find it in the Amplify API, backend API, and then the name of the API, and there is the schema. And you have the schema available to copy from the GitHub repo. and this will create a store model. So it's a model with an ID, a name, a longitude, and a latitude. So this can be reutilized if you are doing like any kind of things that you have multiple of, or you want to just show locations of different places. This is quite a basic model. So now what we will do is to push these changes into the cloud, and then we are ready to go. And in the meantime, while this is pushing into the cloud, have you used Amplify before? Is this the first time using Amplify? Or have you used the location services? Have you tried it out? Let me know in the comment box below. I'm very interested to know how is your usage of these services. So I will fast forward now until this is pushed to the cloud and the API is created. So now the API is created, I can go to AppSync and do some things. And if you are like, what is AppSync? What is this lady doing? I have a video for you here and also in the cards. Go and check it out. There I explain more in details what just happened. So now the next step is to go to the management console and go to the AppSync service. There we are going to add manually the 5 stores so we can see them in the website. I don't want to create a web app to add these stores, it's kind of a lot of work. We could use the admin UI for this, but it's so easy to go to the AppSync and do it. So I will go there and then I will go to queries. And in order for this to work, you need to log in with your user that you created in the Cognito user pool before. So if you don't know how to find the right client, just go to the user pools and there you will find the client. So the name of my site is my stores web app, and there I can find the client, the one that finalized in H5. And then if I go back to Amplify, I have 2, and the one that finalized with H5 is the one I want. And if I log in with Marcia and my password, the one that I created in the web app, this should work. So now I log in into my AppSync kind of API, and I can start doing queries and mutations. So there is a nice explorer there that you can basically start playing with directly. You can create a store by basically selecting what parameters you want to pass and type on there, and then you will get things back. You can do it that way. I will give you the mutations in the GitHub repo, so you can basically copy paste them into this query sandbox and work them. So this will add 5 stores in our database, 1 in each of the main shopping centers in Montevideo. So let's create those 5, and then I just need to run them one by one, and that's all we need to do. So this is great, play with it and you will learn quite a lot about GraphQL. So this is a nice tool that AppSync provides. And then if you want to see that everything is in its right place, you can go to Dynamo table in the data source and see that all the 5 stores have been added with its latitude, its longitude, an ID has been created and a name is there. Now we can go to the code. We have this new variable called stores, and we need to fetch them whenever the page loads. And we are using the API GraphQL library for that, and that will fetch all the stores. This list stores is an auto-generated code that Amplify generates when we pass that model. For more on that, video in the card and in the description box. So there I explain you all about the integration with Amplify and AppSync. But for now, let's get all the stores, and then we can create a new component called the store list that will be basically showing those stores in the side of our map, so we can click on them and go to the stores. So in the components page, we create a new store list component, and there we will add a little code that it's a function and then a list with buttons. So that list of buttons is kind of populated from the stores that we get from the API, and basically every time we click one of those buttons, the onClick function is triggered, and what it does is change the viewport. So it will move you around in the screen to where this store is located. So we need to add that setViewPort function. So we pass it to the component, and then we can basically test this whole thing. So now if we refresh the page, you will see that there is 5 kind of buttons in the side, and if we click on each of them, we will go to different parts of the map, quite zoom in, and these are the different shopping centers where we have stores. This is a demo, but I don't know, I just needed some data, so good. So the next thing we want to do, because this map is not very clear, is I want to paint those areas where the stores are, basically by drawing like a geofence on top of them. A geofence is like a polygon in a map that limits some areas, so we can draw it basically anywhere. There is a site called geojson.io, I will leave it in the links below, where you can create your own geofences. So it will give you a map and a tool for you to draw in the map, and then you can basically get those geofence docs, and the one that we are going to use to draw in this map is coming from that site. So if you want to create your own, then you can do it. The first thing we are going to do is to create a folder called data in our application, and there we are dropping this geofence doc that I got from this GeoJSON website. And this is basically a set of 5 polygons that delimits the areas where the shopping centers are, so then we can draw them in the map. This is a standard, so this is how a lot of map applications work, and this is something that React.gl and maplibre understands to draw these kind of polygons in our screen. So after adding the geofence JSON document, we need to add a data layer to our application, and that data layer will tell the map how to draw this area. So we are going, in this case, to do a fill, and we are going to paint that fill with blue, and we are giving an opacity of 0.3, so it's kind of transparent. So that's something we need. And then basically we will import that JSON file in our app.js, so we can pass it to the map. So that shopping center list is our JSON file with the geofence that is in the standard. So if we go all the way down and we create in our React map.gl a new kind of component inside that is called source, and there you will have this kind of layer with the paint and also the geofences. So this will draw these 5 little polygons in the map. So if we go back to our application, now it's reloaded, you can see now there is this blue kind of transparent area there, and if we click in each of these buttons, now it's kind of showing us the area where the shopping center is, so that makes it easier for you to visualize it. So that's it for me for today, and there will be 2 more videos in this series, so stay tuned for that. The playlist is linked below, so you can check the whole location service series. And today we draw a map, we paint some geofences in our map, and we integrate with like buttons or list of things that we have in our APIs into display those in the map and show where they are. So I hope you like it, and I see you in the next episode of FooBar. Ciao, ciao!